OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Right, let me pick some of these up and bring them to you. So I'm not going to start with the Telegraph. McLean injury adds to O'Neill's Welsh crisis. This is the broken arm. Do we know how he suffered a broken arm?
Yeah, he fell in the training ground.
Right, so it was with Ireland?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's in Ireland at the minute, okay.
Broken wrist, I think it's just so untimely. And now it's probably only a 6-week injury, 8-week injury. Maybe not even that you can get the right cast on it, but it doesn't help us this Thursday.
No, it definitely doesn't help him either, because he just has had an interesting settling in period at his new club too, where he's been fighting with people in the dressing room. Always good to be able to play and score goals and remind everybody, no, I'm here for a reason, not just to batter my own teammates.
I wonder, would he be more or less likely to fight his teammates with one arm? Probably more likely.
Oh, well, the cast.
Oh, no, you put the cast on that arm. Did you not see Terminator 2?
Oh, well, that's a very good point. Also, I think the idea that James McLean can prove to himself that he can beat Jack Butland and Ryan Shawcross in a fight with one arm and a cast is probably something that interests him. So I think it's a great idea for him.
Graham Burke, I wasn't able to get into a Dublin pub the last time Ireland played Wales, never mind the team. A huge transformation in his life. And then Kevin McStay's Roscommon future hangs in the balance. McStay's future will become clearer today following scheduled discussions with board officials. This is Colm Key's story in the back. When there's speculation about a manager and then there's a meeting scheduled, mostly the outcome is teams are looking for a new manager.
Or the manager has hinted that he is considering his own future. It can come from one of two areas. Generally, it's because there are murmurings within the county hierarchy that they're not quite happy with the direction the county's taking. But often it's the manager thinking, have I actually brought this group as far as I can? I think in this case it's 50-50 as to which one of those potential strands of the story it is.
Outcome is the same though, right?
Outcome is the same, that Roscommon will need a new manager.
And is there a possibility that McStay is thinking, I might be able to get the Mayo gig now? Like that ship sailed?
Well, I don't know if it's a question of that ship sailing. I think he may need for another
county
port to be built and a whole new series of ships to be built, because as the Mayo County Board stands at the moment,
right.
I'm not quite sure Kevin McStay A, would either want to work with them, or B, the county board have an awful lot of stock in Kevin McStay, because a lot of water has gone under the bridge in that relationship over the last few years.
Is it the same people in the Mayo County Board who would have been involved when he was applying for the gig recently?
Well, I don't know what sort of turnover there's been at county board level in Mayo, but I would imagine there must be a large percentage of those people who are still there.
I'm sure Ger Sheahan would pick the next day up and drive him to Castlebar himself to drop him off and apply for the Mayo job. But like, if you saw that story in professional sports, you'd think to yourself, well, there's a manager there looking for a little bit more money. But of course, there's no money changing hands between inter-county managers, so of course that can't be the case that he's looking for more.
It is interesting. I haven't heard from Ger Sheahan since Roscommon won the Connacht title last year. I don't know, has he been away?
We should ring him up, get him on. What do you think?
Yeah, but for me, if Roscommon...
Not the worst idea I've ever had, Tommy.
I know they had a really bad experience in the Super 8s, but they got promoted to Division 1 of the Alliance Football League. They got to another Connacht final.
This is what bad counties do.
Like, they are clearly making progress under their current manager setup.
And they whip the rug out from underneath them and go, well, we didn't win All Ireland, lads, and that's the only thing, and that's enough silverware.
That's what's coming from the county board side. We don't know that.
But the great teams have longevity, and they have systems in place that go, okay, we now have some kind of stability here where everybody knows this is our system, you're either part of it or you're not, and if you're not, that's fine, we're getting on with the players who are. And we're continuing to show progress, and we're trying to stay in Division 1 because ultimately we understand that's where the game is going.
Yeah, like Roscommon are like evidence of this idea that other counties need to get their act together rather than kind of cutting the legs from beneath Dublin. They're just pure sort of an idea within the county board that they can do better, despite the fact that they're already doing quite well for where they're at and certainly improving.
They play a brilliant brand of football. Their supporters do enjoy watching them, although the supporters abandoned the county for the Super 8s, which I really couldn't understand. Having been in Portlaoise to see the Armagh game, which was one of the games of the summer, and the supporters were there in their thousands, and they got really behind the team. Then when they actually get to the Super 8s, which was what that fourth round qualifier was all about, there's no sign of them. Even in the game at the Hyde against Donegal, there weren't enough of them there. So it's an interesting dynamic, but I think Roscommon under Michael and McStay are going forward.
Fair play to Jim Furyk for adding Mickelson and Woods as his he understands TV, audiences, and how the game works.
Yeah, but I mean, then think that's being a little unfair. Like,
I mean, you know, maybe not, Dave.
He's won a WGC this year. Tiger Woods is one of the hottest players in world golf right now, and obviously the third pick is Bryson DeChambeau, who's just won the first 2 events of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Mickelson's 12th Ryder Cup is the first since '95 when he made his debut that he hasn't qualified for automatically. Like, it's an astonishing record, albeit his actual Ryder Cup record
not great.
Isn't quite as astonishing.
It's also great if you happen to be like a TV company who's selling a jewel in the sun for 10 million quid between these two. It's like, oh look, they've just made the Ryder Cup team. I mean, that was
they
genius.
Are up, the two of them are ranked in the top 4 places outside of the automatic position.
That was genius.
You know, it's not like
company.
Mickelson's been plucked from like number 32 in the Ryder Cup standings, Ger. You're being very cynical here.
Well, come on. The Ryder Cup, the American Ryder Cup team in TV. Giggs gets lucky after a bad break from McLean and Ireland.
That's
this is
the
the
piece
piece
I was
you were.
thinking of,
Like,
that's
somebody outside.
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry. It was Emma Malone. I read so many pieces in the morning. It's the only football piece I read.
Yeah, okay, so Mourinho's got to pay a 2 million fine in a tax dispute. This is the Spanish authorities. They haven't, you know, the way everybody else gets jail time and then they suspend it. I don't think his was as bad as that, as the Messi/Ronaldo one. And then the Danes still haven't yielded. It is going to be the futsal team? Is that confirmed, or is it like a last minute?
It's like some futsal players, and then the rest of the players are third division and below. So no one from their top 2 tiers in Danish football, and of course their world superstars are going to appear for them.
Jordan Murphy is the new head coach the interim head coach anyway at Leicester. Have they given him the job full time?
No, not yet.
So
he must be a candidate for it because he's taken charge of the team in Anglo-Welsh Cup Rugby over the last couple of years. So he's actually been head coach on several game days over the last 2 seasons. And sooner or later, I'm sure he wants to become a head coach in his own right. He has said that in the past. And it's only 1 game into the new season.
What are you doing when you lose 1 game and you sack your head coach? Sack him at the start of the year. If you hate him so much, you're going to sack him after 1 game. That's like a clear sign that the club is absolutely stupidly run, right?
Yeah, well, like, Leicester should be one of the best run clubs in the Premiership, but to get a hiding on the opening day against Exeter shouldn't be the death knell in your term as head coach, particularly like one of their own. I mean, Matt O'Connor, he has been around that club for a long time, before Leinster and post Leinster. He has guided them into the playoffs last season. Something's gone on there.
Yeah, and
he was in a
Vipers.
last time saloon before day 1, which seems like a very awkward spot to be in.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. Bad break as McLean injures his wrist. There's the picture of him from his Instagram account with the post-op arm. Bjorn ready to choose Garcia. It looks like Sergio Garcia is going to be in the Ryder Cup team. Makes a bit of sense.
I thought that would have been a pretty dodgy call from Bjorn, no? As in, like, he's been shite all season.
He's got 5 rookies, though.
That is why he's in the team. If you've got nearly 50% of your team already in rookie territory, you don't want to be picking many more from your wild cards. And it's unfortunate for the likes of Russell Knox, who's probably right now a better player than Garcia, playing far better golf than Garcia. He's had a much better season, but because there are already so many rookies in the automatic qualification spots, someone like Garcia, someone like Stenson, who probably doesn't deserve a place, are going to get into the team. But the Americans want Sergio in the team.
Because he's flaky.
Jim Furyk wants him in the team. Not because he's flaky, he's a brilliant Ryder Cup player, but he's just playing terribly bad golf.
Luke Shaw says he nearly lost his right leg, which if that's true...
It is true.
If it is true, right, it makes all of the shit that Jose Mourinho has given him over the last 3 or 4 years even more egregious. Like, that's the time you go, look, you're really lucky to be here. This is a really good chance for you. Let's work together.
Arm around the shoulder type.
As opposed to stop eating that ice cream and stop driving down to London. Stop it.
He had 2 blood clots in his leg, and they were going to fly him home from the Netherlands, obviously, which is where he broke his leg with that horrific injury in the Champions League against PSV, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was in Eindhoven that night. I was at the game.
So
at the time, we'd no idea the injury was that serious.
Yeah, well, like, obviously you had the leg break, but then 2 blood clots developed.
Yeah.
They were going to fly him home until they discovered them. And then they were like, if you actually get in a plane now, your leg is going to need to be amputated. So they removed the 2 blood clots. And they told him a serious amount of time later. He didn't realise that he almost needed to have his leg amputated until, I think, weeks and weeks and weeks after that.
6 months later.
Well, so he didn't really... I mean, he had blood clots and they took the blood clots out. Yeah. That would have been an issue if he'd flown, but they knew about it. So it's not like they got him They got him on board the airplane.
It wasn't like he was going up the steps and they were like, no, come back to the hospital. I don't know how close it actually came. He doesn't go into those details. Yeah,
okay. So the a venture capital firm has offered £275 million to buy the English Premiership Rugby, the tournament itself, from the club. So obviously there's 13 shareholder clubs, the 12 teams who are in it, and London Irish also have a share in it. And the plan with rugby in England has been to ring fence the top division, remove relegation like the NFL, like the Pro 14, and therefore all the clubs will get rich and you can have a proper salary cap, and the absence of relegation removes risk, so you can build over a couple of seasons and all that kind of stuff. And it makes a lot of sense if you're interested in making rugby an entertainment business as opposed to part of the overall structures. 275 million quid to sell out to the venture capital firm who owned Formula One and made 8 billion off Formula One over a 10-year period. So that would be interesting. That would certainly change the dynamics in the balance of power from the club game and the international game a little bit. It would balance that up a little bit back in England to club game being super important and mediocre players suddenly getting $500,000 a year as a matter of course.
Because the balance of power is already very much against the RFU. But the other aspect of the story is where would it leave the future relationship with the EPCR? Because suddenly they're dealing with the venture capitalist firm as opposed to, a board of directors of the 12 clubs that are the Premiership. That deal is up for renegotiation in the next couple of years. If that sale has gone through by then, suddenly the EPCR are dealing with an entirely different crowd that they've never had to sit across from the table from before.
Yeah,
it becomes a situation like the Premier League. It's like 1992 in football, basically.
That's what they're kind of like, in a good way. They're saying this is just like '92, hooray! Like, I wonder if that's exactly what the future of English rugby should be, because they don't get huge crowds at games.
A lot of the games now are pretty well supported. There is a. It's not. I wouldn't want to say it's a myth because the figures with some clubs do back it up. But I've been to. The only games I've been to outside of European games that involve English clubs have been Anglo-Welsh games, and they've got massive crowds at them. Like for an absolute nothing Mickey Mouse game. Yeah, you're talking 5,000 plus at some of these to watch teenagers play against each other.
Blue Horizon, Kieran Shannon says 5 in a row will only be the start for Relentless Dublin. That's the front of the Examiner. There's nothing like the Examiner making everybody in Munster go, no, what's going on? How could this happen? Long before its conclusion, the 2018 Football Championship had assumed all the air and feel of a national league, coming to its customary mild conclusion.
Kieran Shannon kind of sent shivers down my spine this morning by saying that come the year 2050, Dublin are going to have replaced Kerry at the top of the Roll of Honour. So,
will you be allowed to see that?
2050?
I hope not.
30 years.
Really
32 years from now. They're only 9 behind.
Well, that's the thing. I looked at that.
I think that's being incredibly generous.
Yeah, it probably is. Either way, I hope I'm not alive to see that day. The other thing he talks about is the year.
He hopes he's not alive in 32 years.
He hopes it never happens.
All right.
I mean, it's what he meant.
Or else it was just being facetious, who knows. 2030 as well, by that year he reckons Cork could be the big challengers to Dublin because they have the population base, they have the link-ups with the expertise. So obviously Dublin have DCU and UCD, Cork will have a couple of colleges down there as well. But he also mentions that Kerry needs to get their act together and get in with Tralee IT and start utilising some of the expertise down there rather than, a potential new replacements for the managerial role, which may not have as much of a...
Do they not have a link up with Tralee IT? I mean, obviously Clifford goes there, right? That was part of his scholarship deal that kept him from going to Australia. Although I don't know if he was actually made for Aussie rules more. It definitely seems like a mercurial talent that might not necessarily fit the rough and tumble of Aussie rules. But I thought they had a link up, no?
I think it might be a very new one with that funding that was in the sports capital grants last year. That might be to build a new centre that will be used by Kerry. But he also mentioned centres of excellence and how they're bullshit really in a lot of counties where it's like more pitches and that's it, more training space, and in actual fact there's no excellence coming as a result of these centres.
Yeah, it needs a coaching hierarchy behind it. Who can stop DeChambeau? Brilliant Bryson hoping for another walk in the park. He's not going to win it again, is he?
Well, why not? He's the foreign player. I can't remember outside of McIlroy or Woods the last player to win 3 tournaments in a row, but he's obviously going to be one of the favourites going into this week.
Dustin Johnson do it?
Could well have
Seems
done,
like the type of thing he'd do.
Does, maybe the back end of
have a couple of months off.
2016 or the early part of 2016 perhaps.
Last year's pre-locked triumph heroine Enable could face a tougher than expected reappearance on Saturday as the prospect emerged of a tantalising clash with King George runner-up Crystal Ocean. So that's the weekend racing preview. We'll talk about that on Friday Night Racing with Johnny Ward a little bit later on in the week. And for some reason I've got the Telegraph today. Gorging on success, the Tour of Britain, France's rock star wins Cheddar Gorge stage. Cycling looks cool.
Of course it does.
We just need to see more of the... This is an amazing, nice thing to do. There it is on screen for you. And then Brexit, top clubs fear over foreign signings. This is going to be an interesting part of... Like, people are kind of waking up to, ooh, I won't be able to watch my football team win games anymore. Maybe I shouldn't have voted for Brexit. You mean I can't have... There'll be no good French, Spanish players. There'll be nobody jimmying their way into a European passport who we can suddenly sign from African countries or Brazilian countries. Ooh, we're getting beaten every week in the Champions League. That's no good.
Yeah.
Can I change my vote, please?
The sight of skinheads like sinking their teeth into steak and kidney pies while coming to the realisation that they shouldn't have voted for Brexit is probably something that should be documented. It'll be a great sight. Yeah, that is something that is going to come down the track in the next few years. I think it's actually been covered in a couple of the other papers. The Guardian might have it. Back page of the Irish Daily Mail is focusing on James McLean. McLean, whoa, Irish tallyman added to list of injured stars, and Jose has fined £1.78 million in Spanish tax case. He's paid up for his case with the Spanish authorities. Back page of the Mirror this morning is "We'll take you back, Dec." Keeper Randolph insists players would have no problem if Rice decided to return. He got that Shaw story as well, saying he thought he'd lose his leg. Back page of the Herald is crisis at midfield. McLean lost leaves O'Neill very short of options for a Wales clash, and Crowley to declare for Ireland if he gets called. This is an exclusive by Aidan Fitzmaurice that the former Arsenal prospect Dan Crowley says he's eager to get back into the green jersey after a spell in the England setup. He's starting at the moment for Villa M2, previously played for Ireland under 16, under 17 levels, but then moved to England in 2013 and was capped up to under 19 level.
What do you think? Take him back?
Yeah. Have we any alternative, any option? I don't think we're in a position to.
So we do have the alternative of saying we don't want this. We can do that inside. Our team is like Real Sociedad. We can do that if we want. That's a choice.
Okay.
That's our alternative. So we do have an alternative. That team might not be very good. What do you want?
Is Dan Crowley good enough?
See, it'll only become an issue if he's good enough to get into the team.
Well,
and if he's good enough to get into the team and prove that he should be in there, well, it doesn't take fans and players long to turn the other cheek.
Yeah, but what do you think?
I'm saying we don't have any. I don't think there is an alternative. Yeah, you can go down the Sociedad route and pretty much rule out any chance you have of qualifying for tournaments. I wouldn't be as principled on the matter as some of our colleagues.
All right.
By colleagues, I mean Kev, obviously.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Interesting story on the back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning. Back on deck, Rice is considering a return to green, so he's seriously considering a swift return to Ireland duty ahead of next month's Crunch Nations League Dublin doubleheader. He's obviously stunned his teammates, says Paul Lennon in this exclusive, to take some time out to make some decision, but it seems that he might be making a possible reverse on this decision, which I think if you look at some of the comments that have been made this morning and look at some of the other stories that are doing the rounds, this is slowly becoming a live possibility that the Rice thing might turn on its head completely. Ger shaking his head here in the studio is not having it.
I don't know. I mean, I will be delighted and amazed if he changes his mind. It's not going to happen.
Back page of the Sun, fair enough. But like, if you look at what Darren Randolph is saying, it's like there's almost a message being sent out here saying you're very close to coming back, but we just need to push you in the right direction. Die Hard is the back of the Sun. Action hero McLean out of Cardiff sequel, and World Cup bid in works. This is the FAI working on getting their fingers in the pie for the 2030 World Cup bid.
Explain it to me.
Which?
Die.
Well, I don't know. Die is in the Welsh name Die.
That's
for Wales versus
all I
Ireland.
can see.
DAI.
That's bollocks.
As in,
What? It means nothing.
It's
When did you Die Hard?
they're trying to get some kind of a Welsh link in there.
Come nonsense. There's no die involved in this game at all.
Well, it's in Wales, and that's
like Paddy Hard.
It's recognised as being a
It's like-
Welsh name.
I'm sure there'll be a die in the stands somewhere.
Well,
And the fans
Paddy
are
Hard,
as big a part of
Paddy
this game as
Hard
anybody.
doesn't sound like die. There was no movie called, like, I don't know, give me another word that doesn't begin with P.
Come on, quick,
Paddy
rescue this.
Hard.
Luke Shaw in the back of the Guardian. He almost lost his leg.
All right, okay.